As we can already tell, the Israeli government thinks they're above international law and special with trying to claim they're being held in equivalence to Hamas when they're just being held to the same standard, the same rule of law. No matter who it is, if you break international law, you should be punished, and you shouldn't be able to consider a special status just because you were attacked. Just because another group attacks you doesn't mean you get to collectively punish people, you get to starve people, or you get to genocide a group of people.
World of increasing division, tension, and hostility. Around the globe, countries are dramatically increasing their military budgets. More countries are attempting to gain nuclear weapons and other dangerous weapon systems. It is in times like these that we most need international law. Without it, we will have an even more violent world where might makes right and war criminals can act with impunity.
Well, we kind of already have that kind of situation. Look at the United States, an overwhelming military might who goes around the world and does tons of war crimes and is never punished because if somebody tries to act against them, they will be demolished.
In recent years, the ICC has attempted to hold governments and political leaders accountable for crimes against humanity. That is what they do.
And that is one reason why we got Republicans and others in the United States speaking out against the ICC, because people like Mike Johnson is worried that the ICC will issue arrest warrants for officials in the United States for supporting the Israeli government, as well as war crimes in the past.
That is what they are supposed to do. Some have argued that it is unfair to compare the democratically elected head of the Israeli government to Putin, who runs an authoritarian system, or Sinwar, the head of a terrorist organization. But that is not what the ICC has done. In fact, the ICC prosecutor has looked at what each of these leaders has done, looked at their actions, and then compared those actions to established standards of international law. In other words, the ICC is not making some claim of equivalence, as some have charged, but is in fact holding both sides in this current war to the same standard.
Yeah, and that is what the ICC is doing. Though, yeah, you got a bunch of people trying to claim that the ICC is trying to equate both Hamas and the Israeli government, but no. The ICC looked at what Israel is doing and looked at what Hamas is doing, and they're both have the ICC wants to issue arrest warrants for both of them for various crimes that they have committed. Netanyahu is not special, nor is the Israeli government. They're not above international law.
Yes, democratically elected officials can commit war crimes. Let me repeat. Democratically elected officials can commit war crimes.
Yeah, sadly, there's a lot of people who believe that the only people that can commit war crimes are terrorist organizations or dictators, stuff like that. But no, even if somebody has been elected into office, they can still be a war criminal and commit war crimes.
The ICC is doing its job. It's doing what it is supposed to do. We cannot only apply international law when it is convenient. And the independent panel of international legal experts the ICC appointed to help with this case unanimously agreed with the charges. Mr. President, people may be uncomfortable to see the Prime Minister of Israel charged with war crimes. But let us take a hard look at what he has actually done. And we must determine whether his actions meet the standards of being a war crime.
Well, collectively punishing people is a war crime, which the Israeli government is doing by starving people and killing innocent civilians is a war crime, which the Israeli government has been doing. Um, Stealing land from the West Bank is a violation of international law and could potentially be considered a war crime. The raids on the West Bank, um, the destruction of all the hospitals could be considered a war crime as it denies people access to medical treatment. Uh, and even what the ministers have been talking about openly, which is making Gaza so unhospitable that um, nobody wants to live there, which is trying to displace people or trying to kill them via various means of lack of water, food, shelter, medical care. And that is a genocide. Starving millions of people and displacing millions of people is a genocide and is definitely